Then let's go. Let's walk up that way.
Okay.
Cineville is the cooperation between 13 independent cinemas that combined their marketing force and let us sell a card that for $17.50 per month gives you unlimited access to all cinemas in Amsterdam and a website where you can find
There's a new town in town, Cineville. 13 filmtheaters, 550 voorstellingen per week, 400 speciale voorstellingen per jaar in één stad met één pas, de Cineville Pas. Cineville, onbeperkt naar de film voor maar $17,50 per maand. Verkrijgbaar in één van deze theaters of online. Kijk op cineville.nl.
Before we started, we saw that Pathé was having a big influence on independent cinemas. Like 5 to 10 years ago, we weren't competing with Pathé on titles, and through that, not specifically being competitive in audience. We had our niche, showing independent cinema, getting the independent audiences, and they were showing the blockbusters. And probably because of the growing age, like the older, the demographic getting more and more old, Pathé was aiming more for the independent audiences. So suddenly they were showing French independent cinema and obscure Oriental cinema and stuff. And they were actually getting 50% of the box office of those titles. So that was becoming a pretty big threat. So Pathé wasn't only competing on the big independent American titles, like the Quentin Tarantinos that become popular, but they were also competing on the very obscure stuff that used to be the bread and butter of the independent cinemas.
The independent cinema scene in Amsterdam is, for me, much less than it used to be. And so part of that is because, in my eyes, of the Pathé. At the very center of Amsterdam, all the cinemas used to be independent. Like the Tuchinski was the Tuchinski. And a lot of those cinemas have been bought up by the Pathé now. And that's one problem. Second problem is that a lot of independent cinemas, like there's a place called the Movies on the Haarlemmerstraat, or the Cine Center, which is in the center of the city, are being forced to compete with the Pathé now. And the Pathé have all the money behind them and all the big titles, so they're being forced to become more commercial and going in the direction of the Pathé in a way. So these are the two biggest problems I see: just the Pathé taking over the spaces, but also forcing the other cinemas to become more commercial and more like them.
Independent cinema will be where it is right now. It is already a very strong brand. A survey of us told us that 70% of film goers prefer independent cinemas. They describe themselves as art house lovers. The only thing that independent cinemas need is not to change their content, because that is really strong. They have to change the way they present themselves to the audiences. If art house come off as highbrow and difficult, they also become old-fashioned and unattractive. So one of the things we try to do through Cineville, and it's proven to be successful, is show that art house isn't high profile, isn't difficult. I mean, you can enjoy an art house movie just as easily as a Cameron Diaz rom-com flick, maybe even more.
Well, you know, the future of independent cinema is also, I mean, cinema and cinemas. You know, I mean, for me, this independent filmmaking scene in Amsterdam is quite low still. And one of the reasons why I'm doing the cinemas, the alternative cinemas, is to build that up. You have to build up a culture.
I think the strong point of independent cinema is the experience and the stamp of approval that it's really quality. Art house cinema should stand for quality cinema throughout their line. So that shouldn't exclude certain countries or certain languages or certain styles. They should be able to show horror, vampire, thriller, whatever. The thing that it should stand for is quality, and that's eventually their strong point against easygoing commercial fast food cinema. And quality isn't just in the product, but it is also in the atmosphere, in the way you're being treated when you buy your drinks, and in the seating and that kind of stuff. So quality throughout the entire experience, from the moment you get in until you leave the cinema, that's eventually where art house cinema is no competition for multiplexes.